I've been using Kali Linux for a while now. It's been my go-to, I know where everything is, I'm comfortable with it. But people kept telling me to try Parrot OS. So I wiped the VM, downloaded the ISO, ran through the installer, and booted in for the first time. And within the first 5 minutes, I already had opinions. Before we dive in, if you like the way I break this stuff down and you actually want to learn hacking the right way, Cyberflow Academy isn't just another learning platform. We provide focused, advanced courses in key areas like website hacking, bug bounties, OSINT, reverse engineering, and more. Material that goes far beyond what can be taught on YouTube. Otherwise, I'll get another strike. You also gain access to our active and ambitious Discord community, where you can reach me directly whenever you need guidance. And listen, I know that cybersecurity evolves fast, so I have made a commitment to constantly update the material and add new courses. We already have 500 plus members learning, landing bounties, and applying these skills in the real world. So what are you waiting for? Join through the link in the description and use code Cyberflow50 to get a whopping 50% off, so hurry up. The first thing that hits you is the desktop. The default desktop is clean, light theme, teal accents, a top bar with a menu on the left. It looks like something a designer actually thought about. My first reaction was that it looked too normal, like I'd accidentally installed a regular Linux distro. But I kept going, and that first impression changed pretty quickly. Everything is where you'd expect it. The menu is organized, the panel is clean, the system tray works properly, and the performance is immediately noticeable. I opened the terminal and checked RAM usage at idle. Kali on a fresh boot sits around the same range, but Parrot felt snappier in actual use. Clicking through menus, opening applications, switching between windows, there's no lag anywhere. On a VM with limited resources, that matters a lot. So I open the application menu and go straight to the security tools section, because that's what I'm here for. And this is where things get interesting. The categories are almost identical to Kali: information gathering, vulnerability analysis, exploitation, password attacks, wireless, forensics, reverse engineering. The same structure, the same logic, but the selection of tools feels slightly more curated. Kali throws almost everything at you. Parrot feels like someone went through and kept the tools that actually get used regularly and skipped some of the obscure stuff that nobody touches. Whether that's better or worse depends on what you're doing, but for someone learning, a slightly shorter lift is actually less overwhelming. I run Nmap first, same as always. Nmap SV 192.168.1.0/24 against my local network. Immediate output, everything works perfectly, no complaints. Then I open Wireshark and hit the first surprise. It opens without needing sudo. On Kali, depending on your setup, you sometimes need to either run it as root or manually configure the group permissions before Wireshark can capture on an interface. On Parrot, it was already sorted during installation. Small thing, but it tells you something about how the OS is configured. A lot of the friction that you'd normally sort out yourself after installing Kali has already been handled here. Then I find AnonSurf, and this is genuinely the thing that separates Parrot from Kali the most clearly. AnonSurf is Parrot's own anonymity tool. One command: sudo AnonSurf start, and it routes your entire system traffic through the Tor network, not just your browser. Every application, every connection, the whole machine. There's also a GUI for it in the menu if you don't want to use a terminal. On Kali, there's nothing like this built in. You can set up Tor yourself, you can configure proxy chains, but it's manual work. Parrot ships with this ready to go, and it works immediately. The Tor browser also comes pre-installed. Again, on Kali, you're downloading and configuring this yourself. On Parrot, it's in the menu. There's also a dedicated privacy section with tools around metadata scrubbing, secure deletion, and traffic analysis. Kali is built almost entirely around offensive security. Parrot is built around offensive security plus a genuine privacy focus. Those are two different philosophies, and Parrot's is more complete if privacy is part of your work. I then start going through things I didn't expect to find. There's a full office suite. There's a music player. There's a video editor. There's image editing software. Kali stripped all of that out years ago because Kali is a specialized tool and nothing else. Parrot wants to be your daily driver. The Home Edition, which strips out the hacking tools but keeps everything else, is specifically built for people who want a fast, private, lightweight Linux desktop for everyday use. The security edition that I'm running has both. You get Metasploit and LibreOffice on the same machine. That sounds strange, but it actually makes sense if you want one OS for everything. Metasploit launches the same way it does on Kali. First run initializes database, takes a couple of minutes, then you're at the MSF6 prompt. No difference there. Burp suite is present, same version. Hydra, SQLmap, Aircrack-ng, all there, all working. For the core penetration testing workflow, there is genuinely no difference between Parrot and Kali. Every tool I reached for was there. The difference is in everything around those tools: the OS design, the privacy features, the daily usability, the resource usage. One thing I did not expect was how good the documentation situation is inside the OS itself. There's a built-in help section with guides on the tools and the operating system. It's not exhaustive, but it's a better starting point than Kali gives you by default. Kali points you to the website. Parrot puts some of that information directly on the machine. The rough edges are real though, and I want to be honest about them. First, Kali has a larger community. If you hit a problem on Kali, there are 10 YouTube videos and 15 forum threads about it. Parrot is growing, but that depth of community support isn't there yet. If you hit a Parrot-specific issue, you might be digging harder for an answer. Second, update immediately after installation. Sudo apt update and upgrade before you do anything else. A few tools had minor issues on first launch that completely disappeared after the update. Third, the Parrot-specific tools like AnonSurf occasionally have quirks. AnonSurf worked perfectly for me, but I've seen reports of DNS leak issues in certain configurations. Test it, verify it, don't assume it. So where does this leave things? Is Parrot better than Kali? That's the wrong question. Kali is a surgical instrument. It exists for one purpose, and it's extremely good at that purpose. If you're doing professional penetration testing, if you're preparing for OSCP, if you live in a terminal and don't care about anything else, Kali is the right tool. Parrot is something different. It's a security-focused operating system that also happens to be a fully functional daily driver with a genuine privacy layer built in. If you want one machine that does everything, if you care about anonymity as much as you care about exploitation, if you want something that feels like a real OS rather than a specialized toolkit, Parrot makes a strong case. I'm going to keep running it alongside Kali for the next few weeks and see how the daily use actually holds up. First impressions are strong, stronger than I expected.
Still stuck in tutorial hell. We got full courses step by step as well. Web hacking labs, real attack flow. Not click here, actually break the code. Reverse engineering, crack moves inside. Hydra open, ego died. Bug bounty methods that actually scale. Find one vuln, that's grocery money mail. $29, that's it bro.